What's up, YouTubers? T.O. here, back at you with Lake Texoma tonight. Lake breakdown again. We did zone 1 on the last video. Hopefully you got a chance to see that. If not, click those links up to the top. They'll take you back to that. Or you can always go to the Lake Breakdowns playlist that we have on our YouTube page. That will show you all the zones for Lake Texoma as we produce them, as well as the other 20 lakes that we've done up until this point. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in and let's talk about Zone 2 for Lake Texoma. Here we go. So we're going to start right on this point. And really the first thing we have right here is really like a transition area. So not really light rock, kind of sandy area. And then you get over here and you start getting these bigger rocks, these bigger boulders. So you can see some starting to form right in here. So just like we talked about on the Zone 1 video, look out here as well and see if these bigger rocks right in here, if there's a transition area right along in here, like an imaginary line that you can actually see if you started to graph that underneath the water. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking here. So then we've got a spot here, just check that. Not sure if there's much there. Back in here, there was a pretty decent looking little ditch. So go back there and take a look at that. And if you pulled the water up, the water actually gets all the way back in here. So that ditch is pretty well covered up. So it could be an interesting place to look depending on the time of year. The back in here, didn't see too much. Then you get in here and there's this little rock formation. I can't tell if this is an old roadbed or if the rocks just happen to be designed kind of like a roadbed. But whatever it is, it's a hard area in an area where there's a lot of soft stuff around it. So definitely a good area to take a look at. Moving over in here, there's a little bit of debris back in here that you can see from the image. Nothing too crazy, but just a little bit in there. The image is not coming in very clearly on my computer right now. And then also right in here, just a really good ledge that's setting up right here. You can see the shadow from it. You can also kind of tell that it's kind of buckling in right there. So definitely a good spot to look at. It's finally clearing up for us. You can see the ledge is pretty significant right in there. And again, that's one of those areas where most people are going to bypass it, right? They're going to look at that bank line, maybe see some of the shallow rock up there. They may fish it, but they're probably going to set their boat right on top of that ledge. And if they would just pull back a little bit and fish that ledge, that's probably where the fish are setting at. They're probably just going right over the top of them. So then moving back in here, you've got some rock that come off this point as well. So take a look at that. And a pretty interesting little point that comes out here, kind of sandy, and then you got a little rock pile out here. It would be interesting to fish, especially if you're out here just fishing that marina. Just jump over and just hit these spots real quick. And then check here too. This looks like a pretty large laydown. I can't really tell too much what it is, but definitely something that they could, set up on. And then getting way far back in here, this is just Marina City. I can't believe how many boats they have in here. You got some rock right in there. And then coming back all the way back in here, you've got another ramp that's back in here as well. So again, this looks like a lake where you could just camp in the marinas and probably just have a heyday. There's so much cover for them to hang out in back in here. This just looks awesome. So take a look at those marinas. If you don't want to get out in the wind and stuff, definitely those marinas are probably going to treat you pretty good. So then coming up here, we talked about the tires in the last video. Don't overlook the tires. Everybody else will run back here past the tires and get into the marinas. And the tires can actually be great places for them to set up on. So definitely take a look at those tires, flip around them, even throw a spoon around those tires. Sometimes you'll catch fish, believe it or not. So take a look at those. There's also some rock back in here behind this tire here. So you kind of got a little rock point that comes over. So look at that too while you're there. And then over here, you just got a pretty decent little riprap kind of rocky bank coming right off of this point. So it'd probably be worth going and checking out. You've got another ramp that's over in here. And then pulling back in here, there wasn't too much going on in this bank line, but if you look right here, there's a point that comes out, like a rock point, rock formation. And the water actually comes all the way up into here. In fact, there's a little creek that even comes through here. So if the water's all the way up in there and they're shallow, like maybe it's early spring, something like that, or springtime, it might be worth coming up here and just flipping around that rock. If you were fishing in this area, maybe if you just launched there, come over here, flip around this rock, and then take off. But anyways, just a spot that you could take a look at. Over in here, you've got a couple different rock piles that kind of point out. So you got one here, one right here, got another small one here, but I don't know if that was going to be under the water. Then you got one right here as well. This was definitely under the water. So then as we move down, getting a little bit of a transition going on right in there. As we get down in here, kind of like this little point right in here. So I could see them coming back in here, maybe spawning and all that stuff, and then coming here and setting up on this little secondary point for a couple days, couple weeks, whatever long they stay, and then they move on out to Main Lake. So then moving over here, just some rocks, kind of common stuff that you see throughout this whole entire bank line. And then I'm going to get back down in here. A lot of the same stuff. And really what I was looking for is just anything that was different. So if it was way different, then I went ahead and marked it. So right here is a little kind of miniature rock pile that you'll see spread out over that secondary point. So that looked decent. Also right here, you got a little bit more rock too, just in that one little area. And I talked about it on the Zone 1 video as well. This lake looks like you could spend a lot of time beating the bank and actually hitting a lot of wrong spots. So there's a lot of dead areas, it appears, at least from looking at the map. There's a lot of dead areas, and then there's specific spots that they should be setting up on. So if you hit these specific spots, your percentages are going to go way up. I'm not saying there's not fish along this area right in here. It's just you have a higher percentage of catching them in these areas. So instead of beating the whole bank line, just work these points. Give each point 5 minutes and just work them all day. And then eventually you're going to start to figure out a pattern, and then you can take that pattern, apply it to the points, and then make your day even more successful. So I'm going to keep moving on down here. Get back in this pocket. There wasn't too much going on. Again, on that bank line's kind of boring, but then there are some submerged rocks right in here. So I thought that was interesting because there wasn't much else going on in that cove there. Coming down here, a lot of the same thing. Almost looks like we're at the beach. Just a lot of sandy stuff. There's a decent little creek channel back in here though, so I went ahead and marked it. See, it's got some pretty decent depth. Even when the water was all the way down as far as it was, this thing still had some water in it. So definitely look in here. You can get back up in here in the springtime and stuff. You can see that being a decent little spot. Then moving around here, getting on the edge of that point, kind of a secondary point there that's got some rock, a pretty decent little transition area. And you can see here these boulders that are just kind of sticking out right here. So I went ahead and marked that one. And if you get down in here, there's a couple more laydowns. Kind of the first time I started seeing brush or laydowns. So you can see here, I got brush here, a laydown here, and a laydown here. You just didn't see too much of that on this lake. It was mainly rock, at least in these areas that we're looking at right now. So then as we move further back over here, you get a really significant creek channel going on back here, especially coming on along this bend. And there's another creek channel that's up here as well that I marked. So you've got this creek channel up here. The image is still taking a minute for it to load, but you have this creek channel up in here. And then you've also got this major one coming back here. So this one's pretty obvious. You can tell if you were back here, you would know that that swings that way. It's probably pretty obvious. There's not too much of a drop going on through in there, but I did mark a couple different laydowns here and here, as well as here. So you've got all these different laydowns. You got 7 or 8 different laydowns that you could fish right in this area, plus a little brush pile going on in here, and then some brush up off this point too. So if they're relating to wood, as you saw, there wasn't a lot of wood in this area. This could be just a money pattern to get on if that's what they were relating to. Also, when I looked out here, there was something really interesting. Just this really deep ditch that's right here. And if I move the dates up, I don't want to do it right now because my internet's going really slow today, but if I move the dates up, there's a lot of, I don't know if it's grass or what it is, but some type of cover that's growing on this little shallow area. And I imagine if that gets submerged under the water, and it can be completely under the water, this ditch could be the great place to look, because you might have all this different submerged vegetation and stuff like that. And then right in the middle of it, you've got this ditch that those fish can hang out in. So that could be a really good looking spot to go take a look at. One of those interesting spots that you kind of wouldn't ever know that was there unless you had something like Google Earth. Also, when we look back in here, we can see that there's a pretty decent little creek channel going on back in here in this area. So definitely take a look at that. You got some pretty good breaks right in here too, especially right around in this little bend right in this area. So take a look at that creek channel. Look at all that muddy, just junk. And then I don't think we had anything else marked back in here, so I'm not going to mark that. or talk about that. But then we get back up in here and we got some more laydowns that are showing up. So a little bit of laydowns going on right in that area. We've also got a brush pile back in here that looks pretty significant, along with the creek channel that comes down and swings around. It actually has a hard surface on the swing. So right in here could be a decent area to take a look at, plus fish around that brush pile. And then as you're coming out of that creek channel, you'll notice you got a little bit of a rock point going on right here. So maybe fish around these big rocks, take a look at those rocks, see if there's anything there. And then you get it back into the mud, and then you've got another little like mini transition area going where you got a hard spot that's right here. So take a look where I've marked that rock as well, where that hard spot is. We're going to keep moving up here. Again, we're getting into laydowns and brush. So we've got some brush up here, some up here as well. Some decent little laydowns here that are sticking out. These are all going to be underwater if we were to pull the image back up to 2020 or 2021. And then when you get out here, you've got kind of a soft point, but then right off the edge of the point is where it starts getting hard. So right in here where I've made that mark is where the hard spot is on that point, and that's typically where the fish are going to be attracted to you. Again, when we go in here, we've got the sandy, kind of not much going on, but then another hard spot coming off here, right off of this point. And then a little ramp right here as well that you could fish to. There's a lot of this type of bank line, which is what I was talking about. I just feel like if I went out here and I was fishing this bank line, I'd just be wasting my time until I got to these certain spots. And so instead of trying to guess where those spots are, we mark them and then we can just go hit just those specific spots. So again, some ramps here. Concrete slab here. It looks like it could have been an old boat ramp. I'm not sure what it was. You've also got some riprap or rock going on right up in this area too that you can get up on with a shallow crank, something like that, and have some fun. So anyways, good looking area right here. Lots of hard spots, especially when it's not really surrounded by a lot of rock. This is really the only rock in that area. The rest of it is just mud and dirt and sand. So I'm gonna keep coming back in here. You've got this rock in there that we talked about. You get back in here and this is kind of a mess, but there is a little brush pile back in here. So I went ahead and marked that one. And we've got a ramp over here and another brush pile that's hidden back behind this dock. Almost like they either someone here put it there or someone over here put it there, whoever's dock that is. But anyways, there's a brush pile right there. And then there's a pile right here too that I couldn't tell if this was a brush pile or rock pile or debris pile. I can't tell what it is, so I just put pile. And hopefully you guys could figure out what the heck it is if you went over there and started to fish it. So coming out here, I do like this point, probably even mark this point as an offshore spot, but at least from what I can see here, I don't see it getting too hard. It just looks like the same texture. I don't see any big rocks out here or anything like that. I really like those points that come out where it's soft and they've got a hard spot right on the edge of it, because then you can start working on that hard spot. That's typically where they'll be hanging out, like I talked about earlier. So then moving over here, just a lot of the same type bank line, that sandy looking type bank line, kind of no rocks or anything like that. You've got a little personal ramp or old roadbed or something that's going on right in here that would be really good to look at. Real good setups, real good rock formation, real good hard area, and not a lot going on around it. Then if you come over here, this is just like a washed out ramp. It looks like good little spot to have, random rocks just kind of setting up in here. You've also got another ramp right here. Maybe this was their old ramp. This is their new one. But take a look at those. Also come back in here and look at this ramp. It's got another rock pile that's extended just a little bit further off of it too. So make sure you fish the entire ramp. Then move over here, same thing. Another ramp kind of buried in here. Mud and all kinds of junk. The only hard spot that's in this whole entire area. Same thing here again. There is a little pile right here. I don't know if you can see it, but there might be some tires or something there. It's getting pretty shallow. Then over here, we've got a big old clump of tires. Some of these tires are actually underwater, so when we pull the water up, these would actually be submerged. But tires are always good, like I mentioned before, so fish these tires that are here. There's also a little ditch that's back in here that looks interesting. And this one has a pretty decent break. You can see the shadows from the break. So anytime you see those shadows, you know that there's a pretty good break that's going on along that side. So definitely a good spot to look. Then you could fish the marinas and the docks, whatever those things are. there. I don't know if they're marinas or just docks. And then there's also something interesting back in here. I put debris on here. I don't know what that is, but anytime you see something like that, you just got to fish it anyways, or at least go look at it on your electronics because you just want to see what it is. But a lot of times, those are really good fish attractors. They're totally different. There's nothing like it anywhere in that whole entire cove, maybe even anywhere in the lake. So you know the fish are going to be attracted to it. Coming over here, another ramp. And remember, when you're fishing these ramps, the ramps are good sometimes just fishing right on the ramps, but also the piles on the sides of them can be good too. So don't overlook those. Not all of them have them. Most of the ramps around here have them, but on this lake, not all of them have them. Some of them are just a concrete slab. There's no rock around it anywhere. Then back in here, we've got some pretty decent ditches. I marked both of them for, or all of them for you here as well. We've got three. So you got one here. This is kind of an old pond with the ditch coming out. You got a ditch here and a ditch here. Those ditches can be interesting because it's really the only cover that they have. They have to use that structure from that ditch to be able to hide and get shade and stuff like that and ambush bait because there's nothing else around them that they could do that with. So if they are back here, they're going to be more than likely in those types of things. Wherever they can either find a hard spot or find something to hide around or take cover by, that's what they're going to attract to. So we're going to keep moving up. There's another ramp that's in here. Again, hard spot with nothing else around it. Burn some fuel in this lake too. Then over here, just check this point. I mean, it's coming out here into a lot deeper water. Check the whole area, check around it, and just see if there's anything out there. Obviously fish these tires that are here. Those are going to be good too. And then there's a ramp there. There wasn't too much going on back in here that I saw that would make you want to go back there. There is a little, look like maybe an old ramp right there. I couldn't tell. I didn't even mark it. And then you've also got some rock along this point. So as we move up, again, lots of docks you could be fishing. So if you like dock fishing, go to Texoma because I think you could do it for probably a couple weeks and still not hit every dock. You got tires here, got more rock in this area. And I like this area because these rocks come off the bank a little bit further and they're a lot bigger than anything else in the area. It's all sandy. There's a little bit of lighter rock up here on the bank line, but these look really good. So look in that area and then spin over and hit this ramp. It doesn't have too much rock around it, but the ramp's good, a little bit of rock. Then here, this is kind of where your rock pile is here. So you're going to fish in this area. Again, it's a point too, so it's always good to fish all the points. Take a look at that one. Take a look at this rock over here, the shallow rock. And then when we get back in here, there's a pond dam back in here. And this looks pretty shallow, so you're going to have to be careful, but then it breaks off and it looks like this pond's got some decent depth to it. I don't know if you can get back here and fish this pond or not. Maybe you can. If you can, I would come up and fish right in here around this pond dam. And then right here in this little pinch point area right in here. But that pond dam, that can be secret juice right there because that's probably a lot deeper right there. Obviously, it's a lot deeper right there than anywhere else over in here. So they could set up in there very easily. Then moving over here, we've got a lay down, some more lay downs right in here. I've also marked some spots out here for you guys to check. I don't know what it is, some kind of debris or something, but it's off the edge of that point. It's probably worth taking a look at. And then right here, we've got a real significant ledge, and this one looks really cool. So I have marked this entire thing because you can see there's a drop going on there that's pretty significant. And back in here looks even cooler. All right, keep moving on down. The next thing we see on this side is going to be a pond dam. I put pond dam here. I don't really know if this is the actual pond dam. It's probably in here, but this looks like it's a little bit shallower. So anyways, I'm looking for those breaks, right? If there's a break right there and it's really significant and it's different than everything around it, there's nothing like it that has that kind of break, then that's what I'd want to be focused on or targeting. So right here would be a good area. And then pulling off of this, because this is your shallow stuff, and then finally you get your ledge right here. Probably not much of a ledge. Maybe this might only be 6 inches to a foot. It looks like it might be a little bit significant because you do see shade from it. So there is a shade line, meaning there's definitely a break going on there. And it kind of weakens out as you move forward. Just that little area right in there, look where it seemed to be where it was the deepest. And then that brings us out to the point where we started, and that will finish us up for zone 2 for Lake Texoma. So I hope you guys are really enjoying these videos. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do so. Hit it below. If you haven't gone out and got your SD card or your digital file for these lakes, we've got 20 lakes now. You can go out and find those at simplisticfish.square.site. Get your card, I'll get it mailed to you. Get your digital file, I'll email it to you. And we're going to continue to break down more and more lakes. So until next time, I hope you catch your PB and stay tuned. Zone 3 is coming up soon. Take care.